The introduction of free education by government, which took effect in January this year, has seen pupil enrollment levels swelling at both primary and secondary school levels. This move by government has given hope to millions of Zambians who now have an opportunity to attend secondary education without encountering financial-related barriers along the way. On the Copperbelt province, the number of pupils has overwhelmed schools since the free education policy took effect in January this year.
We want to thank the President of this Republic, Mr. Hakainde Hichilema, for having thought of the vulnerable people by introducing free education in Zambia. Obviously, this has resulted into rise in number of the learners.
Education authorities in the province have attributed the increase in the number of pupils in school to the removal of mandatory requirements that previously hindered most learners from vulnerable families from being in school.
When we talk about free education, you find the government is now releasing funds. Initially, some schools, though from grade 8 to 12, they were paying, some schools were failing to collect school fees. And if you were following some audit queries, we used to have some audit queries. And those audit queries were coming about because some schools could not literally collect the school fees. Some parents were literally failing to pay.
Nare shupika pakuti ba tulipira ma 600 1000 shani chali twafwa natukwata ukwafurisha ofuma ute kubali bomba tuletote
kweba chabana bababe kweba chibera alipira so tuletotera ku government mwandini bantu kali okonkwete nshaye mukulipira nalashita mwefya kuli apa kweba chabana bali aniteshani mbaperi bali
free education nayo amasana kutiko tuletasha uzinanguba ichi banji tubana nali kwata tubiri at least apa mutwere mbana uri ko karibu cyakwa chinde banka cyo muri pire bara isura janyu warishani wishwa vya chawe akurafye bwino bwino takurivya kwa chiwanshu pia chiripire nimpia bamurembera ka pepa yo turifwa afya ishi barete school fees takuri no mbapa ni free.
Alex Chewe is an orphan under the auspices of the Lubutu Father's Home in Dolas Kanini residential area. In the past years, being in school has not been easy for him. This is because Alex had to worry about whether or not well-wishers would come through to support him with school fees and requirements. However, following the introduction of the free education policy by government, the burden of having to worry about where his school fees will come from has been lifted off his shoulders.
Before the free education was introduced, me living at the orphanage, okay, it was really hard. It was somehow quarantine, I can say, because we just would have just well-wishers. Maybe an individual offers to say, I will pay for this child. The time came when free education was introduced. It's been just easy, yes, it's been easy. There hasn't been any problems in terms of payments of school fees. From then, I've never seen a teacher coming to me saying, hey, you, or calling out the names. These are the pupils that have not paid, you should pay the school fees and whatever. Okay, they are really helping us in so many ways. They have helped us, and we greatly appreciate.
Alex is not the only learner who has faced hardships in paying school fees and other school requirements in the past.
I'm not the only child of my mother and my father. We're 10 of us. So it has helped my younger sisters. The money that my father would have used to pay for my school fees, he has used it to pay for my younger siblings and to take them. And like that, free education has also helped us in equalizing, not only for me, but for my friends in school. Those who are unable to to afford school fees and everything. We're all in class, we're all learning. If free education wasn't introduced, those people who are unable to pay their school fees, they would be called out, and somehow like that, psychologically a child is disturbed knowing that my parents haven't paid school fees and the child is uncomfortable to sit in class.
I've really benefited a lot with the introduction of free education. Personally, I had difficulties in terms of shoes, calculator and other materials and books. So with the introduction of free education, I benefited through the Office of the Guidance and Counseling at our school. They bought for us shoes, books and calculator that I now use, which I feel very happy about it. With the introduction of free education, we see that in various schools, many children, orphans, are catered for in terms of shoes, books and other equipment and bags as well.
I live very far from here, so it was a bit challenging knowing that my parents needed to pay for my school fees, which were a bit high, and also for my transportation costs. So free education kept in and it helped me out. I don't even know how to say it, but I really appreciate because they've really helped me out, especially for the overseas guidance and counseling department. Yes, they've really helped us.
Several other learners have had challenges in paying school fees and procurement of school requirements. Under the free education grant that government aids schools on a quarterly basis, vulnerable pupils are also assisted with school requirements.
We receive the funds that are funded directly into our grant account from government. And in the past, we used to rely from the parents that would pay. And then, believe you me, some would support, some would refuse. But with us, I think it has worked well for us. And we are happy with this program because we receive the money in a lump sum. We are very thankful to government for having rolled out that initiative. Some children were lacking in quite a number of things, and then with the coming on board of the grant that we are given by government, children are happy. You know, they will get to choose what they would want be done for them. Others would lack shoes. It will range from shoes to books, bags, and anything they need so that they could learn properly.
Some schools, such as Kansenshi Secondary School, are using part of the free education grant from government to repair desks in order to address the shortage of furniture that has arisen from the increased demand for education.
Look at the component of the infrastructure money that is given in the budget. Then we are using that same money to make desks for our learners so that we mitigate somewhat the challenges children have begun to be faced with in terms of furniture.
We are repairing desks, which of course have been staying in storerooms for a long time. Now this time, since the government has started funding the schools, we are able now to repair the desks.
Like all schools in Zambia, Chawama Primary School in Ndola has felt the impact of the introduction of free education.
Free education at Chawama Primary School is there, and it is helping most of the learners, those who are out of school, because parents could not meet the school fees, especially the graduates who qualified to go to grade 8. Some were kept by the guardians, others are kept by grandmothers, others are even orphans. But because of the free education, all those have come and we've enrolled them. Interest class, since it's free now, we have a lot of parents who are coming to access that education here. They are learning for free. We had a challenge, they never used to come for classes because they used to pay a certain amount. Now that it is free, we have even more than 30 learners now.
Interestingly, Free education has also impacted on adults who previously could not afford to pay minimal fees amounting to 30 kwacha to enroll for adult literacy classes.
Tulesambira kuishibwa kuberenga kuishibwa kupenda fe tulesambira ko in case kuntanji for mtwali pererere tatwaishibe no batuletera ku free education fe twambire kuisha ku school bashita tulipirawo ni free
fwe wengi twaliperera ma school so tatwaishibisha maths itsungu ukulanda tatwaishibisha sana so apa tulesambirira literacy chibemba ma a e i o u na maths efo tulesambirira
ro twamfati kuri free education tulundepo tumasambiriro twesu para twaperelele lilileko mwandi inende totero buteko bwesu nabo wamapantu para twashalire twalundapo kula bafimwe fya kwatimbi umwana akuletera omwe kitawishibe waramu afwako.
Some Ndola residents are delighted with the opportunity to acquire knowledge without having to pay tuition fees, as was the case previously. The District Education Board Secretary wants prudent utilization of resources that government is giving to schools.
When we first received the first quota, we went round to monitor on the usage because we had given guidelines on the usage of the money, that is free education money that was coming in school, inclusive of OVC money. OVC meaning orphans and vulnerable children. Our findings were that some schools, even if they received OVC money, they had not spent. But after noticing that some schools had not spent money accordingly, we had to call for capacity building.
In the border town of Chililabombwe, free education has equally caused an increase in the number of pupils seeking to enroll in school.
They really appreciate, though we have a few challenges because everyone was at home, but with the coming of free education, almost everyone, or almost every child is in school now.
Learners that had abandoned school after failing to pay user fees are now trooping back to continue with their education.
In terms of free education, firstly, what it is that we have opened up enrollment to every person that comes through to ask for places. Yes, because we have to implement government policy on free education. So what it is that even those that come and say that they are looking for a place, even if a child has no uniform, we do let them come in because there's a provision in our budget where we are receiving OVC fund, which we are using to buy uniforms, books and bags, or anything that is needed for a child to be in school. We have actually seen an increase in demand for places, yes, but the challenge that we have as a school is that we do not have enough desks as a school, so we have a lot of our learners just sitting on the floor. Yes, but then we have as a school planned in our budget to rehabilitate some of the damaged desks.
Pupils from vulnerable homes at Lubengele and Tuafwana primary schools in Chililabombwe district have taken advantage of the introduction of the free education policy.
The free education policy has really helped the learners and the parents in the community. Most of those learners that were not able to attend the classes are now able to come.
I'm grade 8, so I have school fees. I'm school. So in free education, I or no man school.
From the dog with about 12 not to repeat 600 that were repeated. Power school. It was more free education. Free education. If I'm from school, I'm going to talk with them.
Twalei piyama school fees 600. Fwe bambi abafyashi beso fyaka bati babafebeka bambi bali tushafija. Tabale kwanisha okutulipirira. Tabale kwanisha okutulipirira. Nomba paso batuletere ko free education. Bare tulesambira fye buino.
Masaiti is one of the rural districts on the Copperbelt province. As such, the district has a large number of low-income households that had challenges in paying school fees prior to the introduction of the free education.
There's a lot of girls who had left school due to various reasons, early marriages and things like that. Most of those children have been identified and they are back in school.
The district is also grappling with a shortage of classroom space.
We have schools where we have been forced to open up weekly boarding facilities. So these weekly boarding facilities enable those that were in the communities, especially for the girl child, that were once upon a time not able to pay for their school fees and being considered the minority, now have been given an opportunity to come back into school.
Masaiti Boarding School is one of the 3 boarding secondary schools in Masaiti district. Free education has enabled poor families to enroll children at the school, which was previously difficult due to financial barriers.
The parents around here really want their children to go to school. They realize that they have the school around and they want their children to learn. So because of that now, as a school, instead of just putting ourselves to concentrating on boarding school pupils, we have also introduced the day scholars so that they can also come in to learn for free. So now because of that, everybody has come on board, including those that stepped out, re-entry policy, those who can't manage.
Apart from receiving a grant meant to provide school requisites to vulnerable learners, the school is also engaging in production unit activities to supplement government to support the learning institution.
Currently, we are engaged in 5 activities of production units. As you can see behind me here, we have fish farming, cattle rearing. I think you saw our cows. We started last year with 3 cows. Now there are 7, meaning we bought this year 2. The 2 were born. And we hope in 3 years' time we are going to have 15.
As they say, there is always a downside to everything good, a hurdle to every desirable thing. The high demand for education has consequently resulted in the shortage of desks at Masaiti Boarding School.
We are in need of some desks and some furniture.
Due to the introduction of free education, it has made most of the desks be occupied, and then some end up standing. That's, yes, one of the challenges that we face. And we end up sitting 3-3 like this.
Across the district at Kafulafuta Boarding School, Diana Makawa, a single orphan, could not proceed to grade 10 despite passing with impressive grades because her widowed mother could not afford to pay for her school fees. The turnaround for her was the introduction of free education. Diana is grateful that free education has revived her dream of completing her secondary school education.
In 2011, my father died, so I remained with my mom. And in 2021, I wrote my grade 9 exams. When I passed, my mom failed to pay for me even to buy books, bags, uniforms. She failed. Yes. So now, the autumn one, I was not learning. Yes. So I was now feeling bad. I was able to see my friends, they are going to school. I was even crying.
Diana has also benefited from the bursary component of the Constituency Development Fund, CDF.
Yes, I was being paid by the CDF. They helped me to buy uniforms, books, even a bag. Yes. That's when I came here.
Other pupils at Kafulafuta Boarding School have equally received a lifeline following the introduction of free education.
Since it is a boarding school, we do receive grant from government. And this grant, there's a part for free education. And free education is for tuition for every child in a school. Then feeding, which is boarding section, They are supposed to pay a 1,000. Now, for those vulnerable children, there are some children that are being paid for by CDF through council.
My parents couldn't afford to pay for my boarding fees, but now the government has started paying for my fees. Free education has helped me because I was coming from far away from this village, but since I'm in boarding, now I can be able to start.
The government has provided funds for me to come into the boarding. They have paid for everything and supplied everything.
Before the coming of free education, I was coming from a very far place coming here. And now, because of that, I wasn't able to study due to traveling long distances. The benefit is that I'm now able to enter the boarding. Yes, and through that, I'm able to spend a lot of time on my books, studying, which in future will enable me to attain good results.
Kafulafuta boarding school head teacher attests to the impact of free education to the communities around the school.
Most of the learners that had dropped out because of failure to make payments concerning school fees, they are back into school, both boarders and the scholars. And we are working hand in hand with the council, where we are being assisted in terms of paying for the vulnerables. A good number have been paid for, and the grant that we get, there's a package concerning paying for, buying necessities for the vulnerable children.
This school also boasts of a piggery project that helps it raise additional funds. The introduction of free education has, however, faced teething problems ranging from shortage of desks and classroom space due to increase in the number of pupils. The swelling number of pupils has also increased the teacher-pupil ratio.
You give work, and that work has to be marked. Now the number, as you can see, the number is very large. So we are forced maybe to reduce the number of questions so that you are able to finish marking.
The Provincial Education Office has, however, employed a number of interventions to address the challenges of over-enrollment of pupils.
It is the demand that has increased, and we must ensure that we address that demand. It is a positive indication to say the learners are coming to school, and therefore we should be able to address the implication that comes with that. You have seen the government also, this year we are recruiting 30,000 teachers. So that recruitment of teachers is addressing the shortfall that we have.
Okay, you remember the president made a pronouncement that this year they were going to build about 120 schools. And from those schools, Copperbelt, we were allocated 15 schools. And those 15 schools, we are talking about an increase of classroom space, also as a province of over 120 classrooms. Okay, so already there's the shortfall and the increasing of space that we have been talking about there. It has already been catered for. These are green sites where a school starts from the ground until completion.
The removal of financial obligations for one to be in school has revived the optimism in a lot of learners who had lost hope of getting educated on account of inability to pay school fees as well as buy school requirements. The introduction of free education has come as a blessing to a lot of families in Zambia, especially vulnerable ones who now have renewed hope for a bright future because of the equality that education gives to people of different classes.